I don't have anything on my monitor.
Oh, I'll give it to you. Hello, welcome. This is Unprepared. We are your hosts, Eric Rucker and Emily Erwin. So today, this is a special, we're gonna call this a special edition of the show because we're actually gonna take great care with this one because we wanna have an honest and good faith conversation, an important conversation. So joining us today is Carlie Hall, president, or former president of Fresno State's Turning Point USA chapter. Turning Point USA, as many people know, a conservative youth movement started by Charlie Kirk, who was shot and killed while speaking at Utah Valley University today. So Charlie, your name and his name, tripping me up today. So Carlie, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. I know.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a weird day, and you and I just talked in the green room, and so I'm going to ask you again to talk to us about what happened today and how you found out the news and what was going through your head when all of this happened.
Yeah, it was definitely weird because kind of when we first hear about the news, I'm like driving to school and I actually had the live stream on of the Prove Me Wrong tour. So I was tuned in and I assumed that it was just glitching and I knew that I was behind on the live stream and it was lagging. So I didn't think anything of it, but then my phone just starts blowing up with group chats of friends of mine who are there on the ground and at the school saying, you know, Charlie got shot. And I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, or maybe there was just shots fired, you know, I'm like, oh, we don't know. And then I, you know, start looking at my phone, I look at Twitter and it's just like, no, like he really there's immediately videos out of, he really got shot. So it was just a strange feeling. And then obviously then I'm on campus and when it's confirmed that he was killed, I'm in a poli-sci class, so it just felt very, very strange to see the different sorts of reactions from people and, you know, just kind of didn't feel real.
What were those reactions? Because I imagine in your class you have people on different ends of the political spectrum.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the vast majority of people can kind of come together on both sides and recognize, like, this is horrible no matter who it is. It doesn't matter if you despise their political views, it's horrible. But it was shocking to me to see how many people were either rejoicing about this happening or like trolling people for mourning. Like, why would you mourn someone like that? You know, like there was a lot of like posts on Fresno State Snapchat and Instagram stories saying like the witch is dead. And so it's just like, it just kind of makes you question, like, where do people's morals lie in this generation? And, you know, what, is there a line to be drawn anymore? Because I feel like we've definitely pushed the boundary with that.
Would you say that what you saw in person as far as reaction goes, in a lot of ways echo what, you know, myself and I'm sure Emily and probably you have seen on social media, where you also had people going back and forth with the same regard? I mean, real life kind of mirroring what was being posted on social media today?
100%, but I think it's more shocking when you're seeing this in person because so many people feel shameless behind a screen. You know, they're behind a anonymous account or a screen and they'll post whatever, but seeing people not embarrassed to publicly display these views is definitely shocking. And it's weird for it to even be shocking to me because I've been involved in conservative politics for a long time, so I've seen hundreds of times where people behave in ways that you're like, you're gonna really wear that on your sleeve. And so the fact that I'm still shocked is baffling. But yeah, it definitely mirrored the behavior online. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are sad no matter where they come from, but there's a lot of people too that just deep down don't care, they don't have empathy for the situation.
How do you think we got here? Because, you know, Turning Point's whole thing started on college campuses. He went to college campuses. It was supposed to be the incubator of thought. How do you think we got to this point? Because it seems like he had been doing these prove me wrong tours, and I would hope that or you tell me what you think. Do you think that he made an impact?
100%, 1,000%. I mean, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, there's so many people that they get their views or get their politics from a celebrity, social media. Who knows where they're getting their influence on their opinions. And there's so many people that just given the opportunity to have a respectful political discourse, why do you disagree? Why do you have these views? They don't even know why they have these views, and oftentimes they find themselves agreeing with the other side, or at least having a bigger perspective on why someone else might disagree with them. And I think really what got us here is, and I hate to, pick sides or blame, but on the left, there's just such a toxic culture around my opinion's right, your opinion's wrong, and they have this moral superiority complex, and that if anyone is to disagree with them, they're evil and bad, and they need to be eliminated at all costs. And that's really what has landed us in this culture where we see political violence or threats to violence on the rise, because people don't hear, oh, this person's evil, a threat to democracy, they're a Nazi. And most people are like, okay, yeah, that's just what they call Republicans nowadays. But a lot of people hear this and it fires them up, because it's like, well, that sounds horrible. If this is true, like, something needs to change. And that whole sort of discourse is exactly why I think that we're in this position.
What drew you to Charlie? Not his political views more so, but I imagine in some ways was it the style in which he went around spreading his message?
Well, I think I admire that he's willing to sit down and have conversations with those who hate him and disagree with him. I think that he's really the first of his kind, whether on the right or the left. There's not somebody that came before him that really went out craving to talk to people that disagree with you. For one, I think that's his biggest draw. And above that, he had a very unique way of getting people involved in this movement, no matter how small. He made you feel like if you wanted change for this country, or if you wanted change for your community, you had a role that you could take a role in that and really make a difference. You didn't have to be a big political commentator. You didn't have to be a politician. You didn't have to work in politics. You yourself could have a role in making a big positive change in the country. And that's why so many young people had a fire lit within them because of Charlie and because of the movement that he crafted.
There are a lot of people who just flat out, as you mentioned, just do not like him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even in Visalia last week, there are people protesting. Was there any thought, and this is, probably outside of your realm and need for this thought, but was there anything in the back of your mind going, something like today potentially could have happened?
I mean, it's even hard to recognize, but it's not shocking. I mean, even my family and friends, like, you need to be careful, because I was just talking to a group chat of different political friends all throughout the country, and it's not rare. We've all received death threats of some sort, or crazy calls to violence against us, and it's not uncommon, but until it happens close to you, you kind of blow it off of like, yeah, these people are crazy, people really don't like young conservatives. And even with the Trump assassination attempt, it rattled you, but at the same time you felt like, okay, well, that guy was he was a president, running for president of the United States, and we see the drama that Trump has around him. But like, for Charlie Kirk, this guy is a husband, he's a father, and ultimately he's just trying to grow the conservative movement, which is what we're all doing on a smaller scale. So it's not really shocking that this happened, especially with the rhetoric that surrounds conservative beliefs. And I think a lot of people feel scared that something like this will happen again, or on a wider scale.
What do you say? Because, of course, and you've talked about it, you saw classmates who rejoiced what happened today, what do you say to people who bring up Charlie Kirk's rhetoric, or who say, you know, his views on trans, or his views on abortion? What do you say about that? In like, I don't know how. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, how do we talk about, okay, fine, he might have had those views, but essentially what people are saying is that he deserved to die for them? I don't know. What do you think about that?
I just think I think Charlie Kirk's views are pretty mainstream, to be honest. I think that, look, Trump won the popular vote in our last election. So a majority of our country believes in these things that Charlie's professing. And by saying that people deserve to die for ideas, you're basically acknowledging that you think half the country is just despicable and useless and better off dead, because these views that Charlie is having, they're not anything crazy or fringe right ideas. They're pretty moderate, mainstream, conservative beliefs in this day and age. And it's the exact platform that Trump himself just won the popular vote on. And, you know, people are pretty pleased with Trump's job in the grand scheme of things. And, you know, calling for the death of people that hold these views is definitely not loving your neighbor in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion.
What's it like being, and in the Central Valley, it might be a little bit different than somewhere else, but what's it like being a conservative in college? I'm very outspoken about my beliefs. It's not something that bothers me, getting hate or, you know, having a target on my back, but you do have a target on your back, especially on college campuses. Your professors know who you are. If they disagree with you, that's going to be held against you. Your peers, most 9 out of 10 times, disagree with you, so you have to be strong in your beliefs and willing to, you know, get backlash for them. But what I find that's different is young conservatives aren't really scared to get backlash because their views are really rooted in their values, and a lot of times that's like biblical or bigger than just politics. And so what they're standing up for, they truly, truly believe in to their core. And so to me, I feel like if all I get is backlash, but this guy's getting shot, like I have nothing to complain about, you know, like the fact that I'm able to share beliefs that I think are important, I just feel blessed to do so.
Whether you agreed with what Charlie had to say or you didn't, we were mentioning it earlier, his whole platform was the discussion and the debate aspect. Is that changed for a long time or forever now? Or is this something, what he did today, is it something that you think other people who share his values and have that same ability that he did to be polarizing, again, whether you liked it or not, is there somebody that could come up and, I'm not saying be the next Charlie Kirk, but keep that style continuously? Or after today, is everybody's gonna be like, no, it's not worth it anymore?
It will be interesting going forward because we don't know the motives necessarily, we can only presume, but it's interesting because I think the goal is by, you know, killing this person and coming out for blood, their goal is to silence these ideas and silence this platform. And, you know, it's too radical for them and they want to eliminate it. But if anything, I think this is radicalizing a whole new generation of conservatives and making us all realize, we should have conversations with people willing, but if people don't want to have a conversation and people don't want to have respectful discourse, then so be it. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really owe them anything. And half of them, you could see on Twitter that rejoicing in this or whatever, half of them want us dead. So do we even deserve to give them a platform to disagree with us? Some of them are great people and I think should have a platform to disagree, and I think that what Charlie did is great, and I'd love to see that legacy continued. But there's definitely far left extremist side that it's like, we don't even need to sit down and have a conversation because this is how you react to a tragedy. It doesn't matter what side you're on.
What is your thought on the fact that a lot of people are turned off by politics because it's only the extremes on either side that seem to get all the attention because they're the most polarizing? There's the ones that get the reactions out of people. How difficult is it having the extreme on each side, let's just be honest, the ones that I said get all the attention when everybody else is in the middle, is numbers-wise is far greater, but they are leaning towards these extremes? I mean, does that just kill any chance you have at discourse?
I mean, I don't think so. I think Charlie did a great job of talking with people who were very far to the left, but I would just I personally don't feel that Charlie Kirk or even Donald Trump is in any way, shape, or form someone you could paint as far right. I mean, they have some of the most progressive views in terms of abortion, in terms of gay marriage, than we've ever seen before in the Republican Party. I think the moderates in the middle on both sides are decreasing, and people are becoming more conservative and people are becoming more liberal, but this isn't like a one-sided issue. But I would say the individuals that get labeled as far right in this day and age, it's laughable because they have some of the most progressive stances on things. I mean, they're more liberal than I am, for sure. I'm more right-leaning than a lot of elected officials we have. So I think the next generation's really going to throw things for a loop because what is viewed as far right is just mainstream, to be honest.
How do you explain to people that, because what I think happens is you've got the loudest voices and the other side paints them as whatever villain they want to, and then that's what people hear. How do you explain to people your perspective of what Charlie Kirk was building and why you wanted to run Turning Point at Fresno State, why you felt like Fresno State needed a chapter there? How do you explain that to them?
I mean, I think it's a movement that goes beyond like its conservative impact. There's really nothing like it that showed the younger generations. The younger generation, to me, has experienced the most polarized political climate, the most drama surrounding politics than ever before in U.S. history. So for somebody to come along and say, look, we might disagree, but I want to have a conversation with you and I want to find out our common ground, or I want to find out why you believe these things. I want to listen to you. That's something that completely changed the game. And I think that even the left should be admirable about the way he went about this, because he very well could have just said, we don't care about hearing anyone's point of view and we're just going to scream and yell about these allegedly far-right ideas, and we don't want to hear anyone's objection to it. And that's not the way he went about things. And I mean, he really was the epitome of free speech. And today what happened, I feel like, is not just a target on him and the conservative movement and Turning Point as a whole. It's a target on the values as Americans we are supposed to believe in.
Let's step away from the political aspect of this, although that's at the crux of probably, not assume, but probably what happened today. You met Charlie, multiple times, right? Yeah. As a human, as a man, what did you like about him? What drew you to him that had nothing to do with politics?
He's just incredibly humble. He's, a father, a husband, a man of God. He always was very encouraging, a mentor to so many people, and the type of guy that, he has the president on speed dial, but he never looked at you like you were any less than any of the people that he interacts with. And, he'd give you personal advice and have a, casual conversation with you without making himself feel, bigger and better than you. And he did this with people who yell about hating him too. He's like, just come up and have a conversation with me. Tell me why you disagree. And I think he he really had a way of lighting a fire within people, and whether that was in politics or whatever they wanted to do, but just feeling inspired and passionate about what you're doing.
As far as not only creating the movement that he did, but trying to bring people along with him. Charlie was 31 when he died today. I mean, he's extremely young.
Yeah.
Did so much in his life, again, whether you agree with his message or not. Do you think that inspires, or part of the reason why young people may be inspired by him? Because he's probably not too far off in age, more or less a decade, if maybe just a little bit more from how old they are. And if they believe in what he's saying and the impact that he has made, you know, right or wrong, depending on your side, that they could have that same kind of influence someday themselves?
Yeah, he's absolutely relatable to us. You know, he gives advice that almost seems like big brother type of advice. You know, he's like, your legacy, and what is comforting is he constantly would talk about your legacy is more than just you. It's having a family, having, you know, something to leave behind that's bigger than just yourself. And I mean, surely if you agree or disagree with him, either way, you can acknowledge that he's definitely left behind a legacy bigger than himself. And he always just was able to talk to young people on their level and, you know, meet them in the middle. Whereas a lot of our elected officials, and they're all old, you know, so young people who aren't interested in politics, especially, it's hard for them to relate to all these ancient people walking around Congress when this guy's, you know, in shorts and a t-shirt walking around your college campus. It's like, oh, this guy's not too far off and actually has some pretty normal things to say if you listen to him, you know. So he just had a way with young people, and he understood, which it's really been misunderstood until this point, that young people are the cornerstone of the conservative movement, and the only way that we will go forward is by getting more young people on board and, you know, doing it through the youth. So I think he did a great job of that.
Are you ever, because it sounds like, and it could be worse or better if you were in another part of the country or another part of California. Is it a constant, are you exhausted trying to explain to people that his views were not necessarily fringe? What does it feel like today trying to tell people about your side of things and convince people that, you know, the conservative way is the best way? What's it feel like today in that journey or in that fight for that?
Well, I got involved in politics prior to the 2016 election. So the way I felt about politics then was very, like, pushed away. Being a Trump supporter, being conservative is not okay. You're in the fringe, whatever. And it's just been really heartwarming to see how politics has kind of evolved, and especially the MAGA movement and all that. Like, it's not really so crazy to come out and say that you are conservative or that you support Trump. Or even today, clicking through my Instagram stories, all kinds of people are posting about Charlie Kirk. And before, it would be like, you wouldn't dare post about a conservative figure. You wouldn't dare wear a MAGA hat. You wouldn't dare do any of these things because you just would be ostracized. And now, I don't know that the left really likes it, but it is at some level socially acceptable to be conservative now. And, you know, I've actually started a movement personally with one of my friends who is also a Turning Point chapter leader called the Young Right. And the Young Right, we're making conservatism cool again. Like, it's not something to be shy about. It's not something to be scared to acknowledge, but it's cool, and it's your values and you're proud of them. And I mean, really, it's been a complete 180 since like 2016 to now. Just the attitude that people have. They don't feel like they're in the closet.
What are your thoughts on Democratic leaders, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Governor Newsom, who have immediately come out and condemn this?
I mean, I think that was their responsibility to do. I think they absolutely needed to condemn this. It's a bit sad because I think some, not all, but some of those individuals had rhetoric that directly contributed to what happened today. They have platforms that people listen to, and when you label people or ideas as a threat to democracy, there's only logically going to be one type of result from that. So I hope that I think it happened when there was the Trump assassination attempt. They all came out. This is unacceptable. Political violence has no place here. But then it's like, now it's happened again. So it's like, we can keep saying political violence has no place here, but what's the root of political violence? What is fueling it?
Do you think people will look at today and go, this is bigger than politics, or this is just another massive wedge in the political spectrum in our society?
No, it's bigger than politics. There's a culture war in the United States, and there's real evil, I think, amongst our country and amongst the world. And I think this is ultimately a culture war, but it feels good to know that we're on the right side of the culture war, and nobody calling for the death of somebody is in the right. And this it'll all come to light.
How are you today?
I mean, I'm good. It's just been like I don't know about good, but a whirlwind of a day. You never expect something like this to happen, and it's kind of all day felt like not really real, because how could it be? You know what I mean? Like, we're living in this day and age, and people are getting like gunned down for their political beliefs is just kind of crazy. And even more unbelievable that there's been like multiple suspects captured and then released. We don't really know what's going on with the shooter, and it just feels very eerie. And you're questioning everything now. I think that's one thing about our generation is we're going to question everything now. I don't think anyone really trusts what's come out yet.
Do you think this changes the young conservative movement? I know you've talked a little bit about, their goal was to silence people, but this probably did the opposite. What happens to the young college conservative movement now?
I think it grows, because I think every time something like this happens, there's people that say, I agree, I agree with your views, but I'm not the type to speak out about politics, or I know it would cause drama if I said my piece. But every time something like this happens, the bigger the movement grows, because it's their last straw. They're like, okay, this is like out of hand. Like, I agree with these people. I can't even talk about it. And now this is people are dying because of this. So I think it's only going to grow. And I think that, it's only going to get stronger, and whether that's stronger in its views or stronger in its base, we'll see. But I only imagine this movement getting stronger.
Well, I think that is our time today, unless you had anything else that you wanted to add. A takeaway, what do you hope that Fresno State students take away from this? This was at a university, it was thousands of miles away, but what do you hope they take away from it?
Yeah, I just hope that students can realize that everyone's a person, everyone has their views, and there's really no excuse for violence. I mean, we just kind of had a somewhat recent scandal last semester with a professor calling for the death of conservatives, and it kind of seemed like we were blown off every time we brought it to the attention. Like, hey, people don't really feel safe when our professors are tweeting that they want conservatives dead, and they're like, yeah, sure. But it's like, I hope now that they see we're not messing around. This is really what type of thing that happens, and it should hit closer to home too. I mean, Charlie was going to be here this fall, and I know a lot of students would have been really excited to see him, and it's heartbreaking.
Well, Carlie, I want to thank you for coming in. I know that we pulled you out of class, and
Yeah, no
I know
worries.
you've been doing a lot today, and it was a weird day, and
It was.
it's a lot to handle when you're going to school and you're young and you want to have fun in college. So we really appreciate you taking the time. Carlie Hall, former president of Fresno State's chapter of Turning Point USA, will continue to follow developments, and anything that we get into the newsroom, we'll bring it to you on air, of course. If we're here, we'll do it here and online. So Carlie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Carlie.
Thank you.